Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about narcissistic love or societal paradigms based love that can come in a twin flames journey, or anyone who is in the ascension journey, it can come up in their life. So at that point of time, what happens when narcissistic love or selfishness driven love comes in our life? Most of us, if we are living in very conservative cultures like India's, many of us with those similar cultures that India has, is led to believe that arranged marriage is a good way to do marriages, because in the past it used to help people in having good marriage alliances. And while this was definitely true that in a earth where less population was there, sometimes arranged marriages were a good way to find a good life partner. Right now, because we are on a earth with billions of population, finding that right partner can be a little bit more challenging, and extra challenges have been placed on us for multiple reasons, because of the time period at which we are existing on earth, because of the sole purpose we may have for our reason for existence on earth at this point of time, because of a overarching life purpose or soul purpose related goals that won't unfold for us in our life until we mature a little bit. Of few years have passed, decades have passed on earthly life, before we can understand the depth of the soul purpose we may have, or a life purpose we may have. So many of us are unawakened and remain unawakened in our 20s and 30s or younger age, because that is the time we are just simply learning how to navigate just simple life on earth. And when navigating simple life on earth, all of us want to just conform to whatever our parents taught us, whatever our culture, religion, society, country based conditions are teaching us is a norm that we should be following. But despite that, we all end up sometimes going through life paths where we are not following the norm, and that not following the norm happens to us because all of us can't be the same. Otherwise it would be the same earth, right? If we keep meeting the same soul in the same way again and again, it will be such a boring life. So there's a reason why, if we don't want boredom, if we don't want stagnation, if we do want growth and evolution or progress, at that point of time we do all crave for something different in our life. But the craving of something different that all of us wants in our life is different for different individuals. So what I want and consider as different for me is very different from what my friend wants, is very different from what my brother might want, might be very different from what my sister might want, very different from what a neighbor might want. So all of us have some different wants and needs that makes our life worth living, exciting, makes us thrive in life, find some deeper meaning in life, find some purpose in life. But while we all have some different purposes of existence on earth, we also have some collective purpose of existence on earth as well. So when everyone was existing on earth during Jesus's time 2000 years back, at that time 2000 years back, there was a collective purpose. Everyone was leading a life regarding that time period's existence. And some of the collective purpose, when that collective purpose amalgamated after Jesus' ascension, when Christianity took over a major chunk of the world's population, that time when Christianity was getting accepted by so many people, that was the collective purpose of all those people who are going to accept Christianity. Actually, most of the people during that time had the purpose of accepting Christianity, or at least 50% of the population had the purpose of accepting Christianity. But did 50% of the population accept it? No, it took time, because while there is a higher purpose that all of us might have, that we have to execute when on earth at a particular time on earth, when we are there on earth, because of the density on earth, because we forget what is our life purpose when we come on earth, that forgetfulness that happens, that unconsciousness that happens in the initial years of our life, can drive us towards remaining unaware and unconscious or ignorant about our higher purpose. So I feel at least 50% of the people were going to be born around the time that Jesus was born, a few years before Jesus, and a few years after Jesus. Most of the people who were born a few years before and after Jesus were all supposed to embrace Christianity in some way, especially those who were going to meet Jesus during his lifetime on earth or meet Jesus's disciples. So at least majority of those people were supposed to wake up, but they can only wake up or they can only awaken to embracing that religion when they are resonating, connecting with Jesus' teachings, as well as not only when you are resonating and connecting with his teachings, but you are also following some of the teachings, then only that resonance will happen. Because if I don't follow anything that Jesus is teaching, or if I haven't gone through some of the similar journey that Jesus has gone through, can I empathize with him? Similarly, if any of his disciples were teaching, whoever resonated with the teachings of the disciple, if you do not have some parallel lives or similarity in life with that person, or if you do not go through some similar challenges as them or similar life circumstances as them, again it will be difficult for you to communicate with each other in the right way to understand the higher level concepts he was introducing back then on earth. It was a higher level concept for most people back then, because everyone was, again, we all become unconscious and start leading a unconscious life when we get a little bit away from God's way of living or our higher purpose of existence on earth. And every few centuries, every few years, every few decades, we all get unaware. We are firstly born unaware about the higher purpose related to our existence on earth at a particular time. That awareness is meant to develop in all of us at a particular divine timing of our awareness to develop, and there is a window of opportunity in which you will become aware. So for example, the kind of awakening I had in my life in the last 5-10 years could have happened to me a little bit 2-3 years earlier than that also, or 2-3 years, 5-6 years later also. So there's at least 2 to 8 years window that can happen where a flexibility is allowed by God to see, depending on your life circumstances, depending on your challenges, some flexibility will be given to you by God, because God is not a hard task master that you have to do it by this and this time, and which is called divine timing. The divine timing is because God has other criteria, not the time related criteria. God doesn't say that, if there are 10 people who have to understand some concept, spiritual concept about God, and 10 people have come with the 10 disciples of Jesus who were going to teach whatever he was teaching. Those disciples of Jesus, there were 12 disciples, but I don't know why I said 10. Maybe 10 of them crystallized the majority of his teachings in the best way, or something that led me to say 10, or maybe it's because of the 10 commandments that I said 10. So like this, God will make you also say certain things which you may not know the higher purpose of, because you're not yet connected to that higher purpose, or you are meant to stay a little bit ignorant about the higher purpose as well. Because there's a concept about the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, so you should only know that much that is necessary for you to know at a particular time. If you get extra information, or information that your system or your maturity level or your evolutionary level is not going to make you process that in the right way, then sometimes harm can occur if you have got information about something that you were not supposed to have access to. And that is where evil arises from. Evil arises because if I do not have a higher context of something, and I'm only looking, and I being a person who's looking at a particular thing at a limited perspective from my end, but I'm not looking at the other associated ancillary perspective of the thing I'm looking at, then because I do not have information about the other things, or I do not have maturity to understand and process the information related to the other things, what will happen is that information will not click for me, or it may not only not click for me, it may make me think something wrong about the information I received about someone. That's why only you shouldn't be stealing others' information, you shouldn't be stealing another's identity, you shouldn't be doing things to gain access to the future that may not happen, or if that future happens, is a purpose for that future to happen. So the information given about, there are people who have clairvoyant dreams. Now the people who have clairvoyant dreams, they sometimes get vision about the future. Nostradamus was someone like that, and he got clairvoyant dreams about the future. But when Nostradamus got those dreams, not everyone was going to understand it. And then, even not only not everyone was going to understand it, he also wrote about some of his predictions and dreams in a very coached ways, because he also didn't want the wrong people to get the information that he is presenting in his predictions. So that's why he had to write it in a coached way. And then the third way it gets also coached and hidden from the uninitiated is because if you do not understand the language of the time period he was existing in, or the language in which he originally wrote the material, then also many people will not understand his teachings and his predictions. And it was necessary as a safety mechanism that some people will misinterpret it because they don't know the language. And so the language has a very subtle elements to it. Every word in any language has an essence to it. And if you're not familiar with that language, or you're an unconscious soul, or you're an ignorant soul, or an immature soul, you don't understand and develop the essence of that language. And then if you don't understand the essence of the language, so the one word that a person might have written that has a very deep meaning associated with it, the person who has understood that language at a deeper level, they only can extract the essence out of it. And you will see this, I have found as a problem. Like sometimes, being an Indian, we watch so many Hindi movies, and in Hindi movies, when I used to live in US and also now in India, many Hindi movies have English subtitles to them. And these English subtitles that are there, it's meant for non-Hindi speaking people. Those who know English language, they can easily understand the language better. They can understand better if they speak better English or don't know Hindi at all. So for those people, having the translation is a good thing. But when is the translation really an excellent thing, or actually going to be proved to be beneficial? The translation is going to be proving the most beneficial when the person who has translated something has translated it at the essence level of it, at the depth level of it, as the original writer. Whereas if you translate it at a level at which the original writer's depth is absent, or you are doing it at a very basic level or minimal level, sometimes the translations aren't appropriate, or translations are inaccurate, which I have seen in Google for Hindi language translations, Bengali language translations. The words, as a Bengali or a Hindi speaking person, that I crystallized in my soul, which when I look at it, I can see that it is a wrong translation. Or actually with the English language, I understand English language even more better for some reason than I understand Hindi and Bengali. And because I lived also in US for so many years, and because I love reading so many English books and watching English media, then my grasp of the English language is much more higher than an average Indian. And because of which, I get very annoyed when the essence of an English word is not understood by a layman or a less knowledgeable English speaking person, and who will translate. Sometimes English movies are also translated into Hindi, and at that time when subtitles are created, very bad, poor subtitles are created, because the essence of the issue that the writer was trying to convey, or the director was trying to convey, that essence gets lost when the wrong translation has happened in a different language. So like this I found both with Hindi movies. I get annoyed when poor English translations have happened, and with English things also I have found when poor translations are happening, poor understanding is happening, I can get annoyed about it. But why? Because then what happens is, one barrier has been created, one obstacle and challenge has been created, that someone who knows both languages real well, only they will understand the depth of the material. Whereas someone who doesn't understand both languages real well, during the translation now, something will be lost. Which can be a protection for those who are very ignorant or anyways are going to misinterpret the data, but can also be harmful for those who are looking for real data, and it is going to be like searching for a needle in a haystack. That's why only if you do not want to create, like how the Bible says, a Tower of Babel was created where everyone is speaking in different languages and no one is understanding each other. That's why only God tries to build and create a life or some uniformity in life where, despite us being very different individuals and having some unique quirks and things like that, most of the time when unity consciousness has to be formed on earth, or a particular society or a particular place or a particular city or a particular family, everyone has to understand the jargon that is being spoken, everyone has to understand the language that is being spoken. So that's why only you will sometimes see there are families where everyone, studies medicine. Why is everyone studying medicine in that family? So that eventually, if a higher level work has to be done by someone in that family later on in life, that higher level person's work can be understood by everyone in the family. That's why only they might all be studying medicine for generation after generation, so that one person who will be speaking now a language, why also that collective thing has to happen is because that time they all need to know the medical knowledge very well, and then they all might need to be working on it towards changing that field into something else. So that's why if family after family is doing medical related work, this can happen. Family after family is doing political work, this might need to happen. Family after family is doing business work, that might happen, because you're crystallizing it generation after generation. Of course, if you're not crystallizing it generation after generation, what will happen is there will be decline in your family's prosperity. That also happens to many people. I've met people who had prosperity like for 2-3 generations, they had really good business prosperity in their family. This was something like my grandfather or great grandfather, my father's great grandfather or someone was very rich, or apparently held a lot of riches. But then in the next generation and in the next generation, they had a lot of business losses. Why did they have those losses? Because they were not crystallizing the principles of their business's future. Or when you are, passing something down the generation from one family to the other, you're not just simply passing down the luxuries. You're also meant to pass down the challenge related aspects on how to deal with challenges. You're also meant to evolve also from generation after generation. So if the first generation had 3 challenges to resolve, the next generation has to evolve to understand how to solve it at 5 problem level. The next generation might have to resolve it at the 7 problem level. And then sometimes you have to also take rest and not resolve at that multi level, and that's why also businesses will be winding down, so that you come down from 7 problem level to 5 problem level problem solution. So these are all the reasons why we have on earth the negative phases, the phases of downtimes, downturns in any different fields or any family life related circumstances where something is out of the norm from what normal families are doing, and or in a business practice something is happening that is causing the business practice to now wind down. So all of these, if you are intuitively tuned into your work, tuned into your family, tuned into whatever is your karma on earth, karma meaning whatever you have meant to achieve on earth while you are on earth at a particular time period on earth, as well as while you are on earth with a group of people you have had the fortune of meeting, then with all of them there is something you have to collectively do or collectively learn or collectively shift or collectively change. But that collective shift, doing, learning can happen when you are ready to collectively connect with each other, interact with each other at that deep trust level, build the trust in such a way where you trust each other in the right way. You're not misinterpreting data, you're not creating a Tower of Babel with anyone, you are building the right connection with them, so that you can do that joint collective work with them. But there are also many people who, like Gandhiji, let's say Gandhiji, when he had to do some work in India related to Britishers leaving India, he didn't know he had to do that work. And he was also unconscious that he has that as a future. What was he doing? He was doing what everyone in his family was doing. There were many people studying law and other degrees, so he was studying law. Then there were people who were also studying outside of India during that time, when Britishers were there in India, countries where English language was spoken. Some of those countries were places where Indians were migrating to go and work there, study there, right? Something that was there before Britishers left India and is still prevalent in current India as well, that in the last 75 to 100 years of earthly existence of Indians, many Indians have gone as a result of the benefit of learning the English language. They also use that learning to educate themselves, do higher studies in India, outside India, worked outside India. Some worked outside India and came back to India. Some stayed outside India for many, many decades or just left India. So all of these has been happening in our Indian history for hundreds of years, and actually longer than that this was happening. Global migration was always happening, and like how Indians were now migrating and going abroad to so Gandhiji went to South Africa, like that there were South Africans also who were coming to India. There were Britishers also who were coming and living in India. There were many Britishers who, after the independence, also after Quit India movement also happened, there were some Britishers, if they had family in India, they have built a family life in India. Some Britishers didn't leave. There are still many people outside of India who still come to India and live in India if they love the culture of India even now. And there are Indians who also go and live abroad as well, and there is a purpose to it. Why? Because there was an integration happening, and what is true of India is true of other countries of the world as well. And yes, where prosperity seems to be better, that is where people always gravitate towards initially. But who gravitates towards other countries just for the sake of prosperity? The one who is living a 3D life of just wanting food, clothing, shelter, and gaining material gains in life. But if you have transcended that and you are actually someone who was born in America or born in Europe, and at that time, what are you searching for? You are searching for something where, while you were getting all the lap of luxurious things of life, you were being a consumeristic person. Sometimes the consumerism that you are going through is making you weary in life, because you're realizing you've transcended the food, clothing, shelter related problems, right? You already have your food, clothing, shelter related problems well met. You are possibly really, really super rich in a different country. At that time, then what will you gravitate towards? Because you are now, you have settled and understood possibly, and that soul only will become restless who has already understood the meaning and value of money, food, shelter, material pursuits, doing the normal things that humans are doing. Like that, many people are there on earth currently right now in their midlife, or a little later part of their midlife is happening. And for some who may not have yet reached their midlife, but they are in their 20s and 30s, and they are feeling lost in life, because they did have some good privileges in their life, and also because in this century we all have to stir up and ascend and awaken towards a different way of living. We all have that collective purpose. And depending on our age, the time at which we were supposed to be free enough to contemplate on this, supposed to be relaxed enough to have the time to think about this, reflect about this, is the time when your ascension and awakening will happen. And for everyone, the ascension and awakening happens in different ways. Some people have chosen the difficult path of having some hardships that's going to awaken them. Some people have shown might have chosen the path of just lap of luxury to awaken them, because in the luxury there's always good in the bad and bad in the good. So what other people consider as a great thing about luxury doesn't mean that luxury doesn't have its own problems. So luxury also has its problems, poverty also has its problems. It's just that luxury has a different set of problems, poverty has a different set of problems. And when you realize that what each of these has, what is the problems associated with it, when you have transcended also a little bit of the duality related to your current existence level on earth, irrespective of what is your socioeconomic status, what is the country in which you reside, what is the socioeconomic range at which you want to operate. All of this is irrespective of the awakening journey we are going through. And because we are all going through a awakening journey on this century, that awakening that needs to happen, a different kind of awakening needs to happen than what has happened previously. It is supposed to pull in some of the issues related to the past as well. Some of the beautiful things about the past that should be retained has to be extracted from the past and brought into the present. And that's why only you will see in the awakening journey and in the spirituality related journey, many people who are awakening have been awakening to all these things only so far. What have people been awakening to? There have been some people who have been awakening to religion. So you will see in Muslim culture, Muslim teachers and psychiatrists and therapists are all awakening to what needs to change in their culture. Even businessmen or even leaders can, country's leader can also be awakening to what needs to change in their country. Not just a Muslim country's leader, any country's leadership could be changing, but every kind of leadership that can influence a mass scale of people. It could be someone, if it's you are a sports person, you could be a sports person who's meant to awaken to something. You could be a businessman of holding a multinational company that should be awakening to something that needs to be done multinationally. You could be a country's politician who has enough of support in the country to initiate changes in that country in the right way, because you have built a good support system of people who are ready to initiate the right changes. So like that, different people are awakening to their higher soul purpose. And first, people have to awaken to the soul purpose that is nearest to them, most aligned with them. Meaning, if you're a businessman, you're awakening to the business related practices that has to align in the future for you, the best business related practices. If you are a politician, best politician related practices. If you're an actor, actor related practices. If you are a dancer, dancer related practices. If you are a teacher, teacher related practices. If you are a scientist, scientific methods related practices. And again, who will awaken first? The person who has to awaken first has to be the person who will be the leader in showing this needs to change, this needs to shift, this needs to end. Or a person who has the capacity to teach a lot of people and influence a lot of people into redirecting them in a path that needs to be redirected in this century. That person has to awaken first. You can't sleep. That's why only if your job is like Jesus had to awaken, and in order for him to awaken, he had to do a certain set of steps. In order for him to do a certain set of steps before he got the guidance from God, he can't get the guidance from God if he didn't go through the difficult journey that he went through. No one actually knows Jesus' difficult journey. There is some videos I have seen which talks about how Jesus as a teen left Israel area, because I'm forgetting from where he left. When he left Jerusalem or Nazareth, I'm not sure, but he left and he was not there in the Middle Eastern area at all, and instead he went to the east. Because what happens is, if prosperity is there in developed countries, what is there in the less developed countries is, instead of prosperity related paradigms, less developed countries have spirituality related paradigms. So while developed countries have been working on the materialism aspect of living, developing countries at the same time simultaneously have been working on the spiritual aspects of living. That's why you will find great spiritual teachers in China, India, Africa. All of these spiritual teachers you will find in the most poverty stricken areas or difficult challenges filled areas of the world. You may even find a good spiritual leader even in US. I see some of the videos of spiritual teachers from US, and those who talk about Christianity there. And at that time, those leaders also have come up where I found someone who is a mixed heritage person. I have found people who are Black African Americans. I have found people who are Hispanic Americans. So all of, again, why are these mixed heritage people, Hispanic Americans, African Americans, teaching in America? Because and doing they're getting to do the high level spiritual teachings or high level therapy related teachings. Some of them I have even found, for therapy related teachers, I've found a lot of, I've resonated with a lot of feminine energy oriented teachers, because I need some feminine energy related healing. So I found many feminine energy oriented white American or white population teachers. Why? There's a higher purpose to me resonating with them as well, which I might reveal later. But because their way of living also includes some higher balanced way of bringing equality to earth, balanced way of understanding equality on earth, those teachers whom I'm resonating have likely a, while they have the feminine energy side that made them good therapists or good teachers, they also have likely a balanced masculine and feminine energy that resonates for me, and that's why I resonate with more of those teachers. Some in I found some teachers from developed countries, many of them in America or Canada, and some of them I've also found in Asia, in other Asian countries, and some in India as well. But most of the time, the concepts I resonate with are concepts that are present in America, because I've lived in America as an independent person. So many things related to that lifestyle also resonates for me. So like this, every one of us, I awoke to those things that resonate first for me as an independent girl, as a single woman, as a girl of a particular age who is still single, or can be considered single. I have some legal status issues with that, with regards to my, I don't understand how to classify my single status. I would prefer to say I'm still single, though I am not in some very weird, bizarre, other stupid challenges related, life's challenges related ways, that brings a lot of complexity in my life that I myself don't know how to explain to anyone, and it's a major hassle for me to explain it in legal paperwork sometimes. So having partial knowledge, having knowledge that I have forgotten because I think I've had some memory loss related phases as well as because of certain other manipulations that have happened in my life where I had no control, but those manipulations also led to a lot of garbage related to my not understanding how to define my legal status. So as a single person or not, I define myself in my passport as a single person, though I don't know whether it's the right thing to do, and I wish governments would stop classifying people as single, married, separated, divorced. I know it helps in classifying people into categories, but sometimes some people fall in multiple categories, and at that time it can be a issue. So unless they can fix that, where people don't know, or don't know can be a question mark in their category, that might be a good thing governments can do in passport or visa applications possibly. So that is again something maybe the legal system needs to awaken. So every system needs to awaken when there is a confusion going on in someone's life, when there is a challenge, a gap that has been created. This question that I posed here about the legal and government systems making this change, this question is now being posed because there are people like me who don't know how to classify themselves. Have you seen Narendra Modi, who is our country's politician? He is married to someone, but he doesn't live with that person. So technically he is like an unmarried person. So for a person like Narendra Modi, it should be a I don't know question mark, because he doesn't live like a grihast householder, and he is even though legally he is still married to that wife, they have never, for many decades shared a life together. So that those people like that have to have a question mark rather than be given, because he doesn't fall either as a single, he is actually a single person despite legally being married, kind of very similar to me in some ways, which my complexity is not that his level complexity. Also my complexity is worse than his level complexity, so I don't even know how to define these things related to my life sometimes. And because of certain things that happened behind my back that I don't remember, that I do not understand also, because I don't remember exactly what has happened. And the things I do know and do remember, there also some manipulations have been done by people who wanted to manipulate the status itself of my, just the simple I don't know why they wanted to manipulate. That also is something I can't do anything about. So in life, when you have challenges like this, where these are also the places where you will awaken. Now then, when I have all these confusing things going on where I don't know, can I get hung up on my legal status? No, I can't. So I have to just decide, okay, given current status, I'm just putting single as my status, because as far as I know, I am single in this country. So I'm putting single status. Whether there is a question mark, whether there is not, in personal relationships, if it has some value in a personal relationship, I will have to speak with a partner to tell them and give them the details about what I'm not revealing here. But other than that, and then after giving them the details also, if a tower of Babel is created with them, they will not understand what I am saying, they will not resonate with what I am saying, they will get confused and wonder what is she talking about, I don't understand it. Because it is not a very crystal clear thing like Narendra Modi, where he just doesn't live with his wife. Those are separated people. He does have a category, actually separated is also one category sometimes in certain legal documents. But some people are not simply separated, something else has gone on in their life. Like a person, like let's say a person like Draupadi exists in the world, where their parents got them married to 2-3 different people, and the person doesn't even know that their parents got them married to 2-3 different people, because hypnosis was done to them, or they had one time hypnosis was done, one time accident was done, and like that they are actually married to 3 people, but they don't even know they are married to 3 people. Because of hypnosis they forgot one partner, because of accident they forgot another partner, and because with the third partner, a Narendra Modi like situation is going on, they are in that separated phase. But technically separated also doesn't actually define everything about them, because there are 2 partners who might still think they are married to them, there are 2 partners who might still be writing them off as a partner somewhere, searching for them. Like let's say you had an accident and a very filmy like thing happened, but that things happen to some people. They have partners where their partners were lost for a while and they are searching for their partners, but that partner being lost, they still continue like writing that this person is my wife and I'm searching for them, and that I am considering them as my legal partner. But the reality is that partner has completely forgotten about them, leading a complete different life. Like in Is Pyar Ko Kya Na Do Part 2 serial, there is Astha who does that. Astha goes and forgets about her life with her husband Shlok, and she's living a second life where someone else now starts becoming interested in her. And luckily it is a Hindi serial, that's why the husband meets her before she goes and marries someone else. But now imagine if that lady had married the other interest, because she doesn't even remember her husband. So if she doesn't remember the husband, while the husband is writing it off that he's married and he has a wife and he's actively searching for the wife here is very busy in not remembering the husband. And because she doesn't remember the husband, she can easily legally go and marry someone else as well, right? So these kind of issues where question mark related issues are there, you don't know how to categorize yourself. So sometimes either I don't want to say might be better, but I feel I don't know might be better than I don't want to say. Because this I don't want to say causes some people who want to hide their status now to utilize the systems of legal systems to hide themselves. Because there are also people who get married in India, then they leave their wives and get a lot of dowry from their wives, use that money that they got as a dowry from the wife to settle themselves outside India. They already have a girlfriend outside India sometimes, or they were already two-timing even before marrying that woman, or after promising the girl that after a couple of years I will take you to my country, they don't take the girl, and instead they have a girlfriend in that foreign country where living together is allowed. And while they have a girlfriend, they're busy enjoying all the luxuries that they got from the girl's family. So there, legal justice doesn't prevail. Like they are manipulating now the system to write that they are single in a different country when they were married in India, and they were deliberately doing it. It's not someone who has forgotten things. It's not someone who knows what is going wrong with the things that were happening. They are deliberately manipulating a whole situation where legal systems are not connected between two different countries, and that's why they can easily write themselves off as single there, or they go and marry someone else just because legally that marriage was not registered in another country, right? Whereas the first wife in India is sitting and waiting for that spouse. The first wife is given all her life to that spouse. There are many people who have children also in both countries. Or the first wife's take care, they use the wife for taking care of their parents. So basically the first wife is used as a caretaker and maid servant for their parents. So all of these things also need to be addressed. This is also part of ascension work. So while people think ascension is all high level spiritual work, yes, it is high level spiritual work, but because this is also high level spiritual, because you have to highly understand what is messed up with the feminine energy or feminine related imbalance that is happening on earth, and that imbalance needs to be rectified. That is also a part of spiritual purpose of all of us who are a high level, going to be working at the spiritual level towards making some change. And not just at the spiritual level, some are working at the spiritual level, some have to work at the spiritual and practical level, and some are working at the practical groundwork level. So in the groundworking level, where those people who are working with legal systems, who understand these kind of manipulations are going on, they have to now waken up to the legal systems that need to be changed, the legal rules and regulations that need to be changed, the legal connections between different systems that need to happen, in order to not let someone use a system to deliberately manipulate and create a false narrative about a partner who's not abusive, about a partner that gave away all the who was exploited. Actually, this was a human exploitation of women happens in this way, where human rights are getting violated, their lives are getting ruined, because while it is easier for a man to marry 2-3 times, it's very difficult for many women to marry continuously 2-3 times. Most women will never. Draupadi is an example of a woman that should never happen on earth. Most women would not prefer to have 2-3 different husbands. They would prefer only one spouse, maximum two. Some might go till 3 spouses, but most, and that too, none of them will want to be like Draupadi having 5 spouses at the same time. But men do want to enjoy that system, and that's why polygamy also exists more for men, where men want to have multiple wives. And let's forget that discussion, but there is that aspect also that happens on earth, where polyandry also happens secretly in some places. But whatever is happening, be it polygamy, polyandry, that is not the norm of society, right? So in the normal society where polygamy and polyandry is not happening, there you have to make the changes, where deliberately in good faith, where people know that they are only meant to marry one spouse, and then the spouse is cheating and doing all these manipulations. These things need to be addressed to bring justice to that woman, to bring justice to her future progeny, to bring justice to her not getting simply exploited if she never doesn't even have a progeny with the husband. It is a simple exploitation of a woman that is happening. If she shares a progeny, it is exploitation of the woman and her progeny. If and use of women's labor, use of women's life for taking care of in-laws while the husband is having fun somewhere else. And all these things have been shown in our Indian shows. The Indian shows writing these stories, while many people think these are all drama, many of these dramas actually are reality of certain people. It's the real thing that is happening in their life. It is not something people are appropriating from a TV serial. In fact, TV serial is likely appropriating the storyline from the real life experiences of someone who dealt with some similar situations that the serial was talking about. And when I was an unawakened soul, I used to be like people when I was a teenager, and I didn't understand the context related to such manipulations. In that time period, as a teenager or a 20-year-old, I used to find all Indian serials that were existing during that time as very dramatic or overtly non unrealistic to life. because many of my family and many of the people I knew at that time in my teenagers and 20 years of age were not people who were attracting that kind of drama, were not people who had those kind of challenges in their life. So that's why I didn't have any context about it. But the moment I went to US and then I came back from US, I then started seeing more and more of those women, and online also I spend a lot of time because of my illness related issues. I do not go and do a lot of outside activities. So because I'm at home, I spend a lot of time on social media. In recent years, I've spent a lot of time on social media, because of which I heard millions and hundreds of stories of women and other people, men or children, who have had those similar drama like experiences that you find in Hindi serials, that you find in international serials and stories, where it is not really a drama at all. It is the pain of the human existence that has been dramatized by someone. And that pain of human existence being present on life also means that pain and suffering has to be alleviated by someone who understands that pain, who can work with that pain, who can understand how to navigate that pain and challenge and take others away from a path of darkness. Because all of this, the things that in a TV serial adds only gossip and drama to the serial, in real life, if you're facing such a challenge, is going to be a highly heavily mentally taxing, emotionally taxing, psychologically taxing, financially challenging, long life path of life challenges filled life, where when on a TV serial it looks like a very easy thing to navigate. And in TV serials, in Ekta Kapoor serials, we have what? We have 10-year leaps, 5-year leaps. So you don't even get to actually experience, except for the dramatic elements of someone divorcing a wife and going and marrying someone else, you do not get to experience the emotional challenges, the deeper challenges of practical life that ensues in a person's life when their spouse has left them, when the spouse is exploiting them, or a man when the spouse is manipulating them, or a man who doesn't understand how to not get manipulated. Like, I cannot ever, this is the part about the drama in Ekta Kapoor serials that I don't understand. Why do you have to be manipulated by two women? Don't you have that? You should have that higher level consciousness. Or if there were men like that in the past 20, 30 years of human existence, or even centuries of human existence, who have got manipulated by women into getting trapped by them, into marrying them or sleeping with them, in this century you shouldn't be doing that. That is also one part of awakening. Men also have to stand for their rights, their equal rights, to not get manipulated, to, if they have created a boundary with a co-worker that I'm not interested in you, but the co-worker is harassing them, they need to awaken to set up something where the co-worker doesn't harass them. They also need to be wisening up and ensure that they don't get trapped into interactions with a co-worker who has interest in them, and set the right boundaries, so that you don't fall in love with them or get trapped into marrying. Like in some of the Ekta Kapoor serials, there is a girl who, either the second wife will be the co-worker, or the second wife will be the sister of the first wife who got divorced or who was thought to be dead, and whatever other reasons are there, some misunderstanding happened and the divorce happened. Why are men getting manipulated so much by family? This is also something. Men and women not getting manipulated by family is something you have to understand. Not getting not just manipulated by family and friends, but if you are really so deeply in love with your wife, why are you allowing the space and room and boundary breach to another woman? Some of these boundary breaches you can't do anything about, because that is how stalkers happen. That if someone is stalking you and behaving with you in a stalker like manner, you can't do anything about that. There it is out of your control. But most people are not stalker like people. Most people will be just pursuing you when you allow that pursuit to happen. So if a man's ego wants the ego boost from flirting with another woman, that's when the first boundary breach starts happening in their relationship. They have allowed for the flirting, and then they have, like a flirting is the gateway drug like thing, that it opens the gateway. First it opens the gateway to not realizing that if you flirt with someone, you're showing to that other person that I'm disloyal to my wife, I do not take my wife seriously, I do not take loyalty to my wife seriously. It goes both ways. A woman can also do it. If a woman is doing it, same thing. If you're flirting with other men, and and here's the difference between what is flirting and what is just sweetly talking with another. And these things also humans have to heal. If you want a highly evolved life, if you want to have a evolved life with balanced earthly residence on earth, you have to understand what is a egoic need and what is a real need. Of course, we all need to maintain good balance and friendly, like let's say you have 10 co-workers with whom you are interacting and they are co-workers of both gender. The way you can distinguish whether you're flirting or not is, are you going to behave that same way with a, if you are a man and you are flirting with a, to understand whether you're flirting with a female colleague or whether you have been equal as being a man, are you in the same way friendly to all men and women, same way smiling and charming to all men and women in your colleagues relationships? Then you are not simply flirting with someone, but it becomes flirting when you are prioritizing someone. And if you want to mentor someone also, again that mentorship thing also has a boundary. You have to understand what is the boundary of mentoring someone, and these things many men and women don't realize. So sometimes the boundary between the flirting and mentoring gets blurry. So you have to realize where you're flirting. You have to become a conscious soul. That is where you are consciously going to evolve. If you are a conscious soul, you will not flirt. You will try to set the appropriate boundary. If you want to even mentor one person whom you find very much talented in your work company, you can still give that same mentorship to 10 people to make it even more fairer for everyone. That way no one is going to suspect you for favoritism. If you in fact mentor 10 people, the one who is the most talented only will get the most out of your mentorship skills, right? So that way also you can do it, so that it doesn't cross the boundary between people thinking you're inappropriately doing something. And you are also keeping yourself safe, because if you're already married, no one is thinking like, oh, my mentor is doing all this, he must be interested in me, I can flirt with him and he's flirting with me, so let me also flirt with him and let me keep on flirting with him until I trap him into a relationship with me. Many women do that, many men also do that. Men do less with mentors, but men can do it with their friends, men can do it with their friends' wives, especially if they are jealous of their friends having a good relationship with their wife. They can do that, or a girlfriend, they can do that because they want that girlfriend or they want that wife. So these things, these conscious choices that you're making leads to conscious karma that you're developing with these people. Whereas, and some of it might be subconscious choices, but those subconscious and conscious choices, like you might have seen your father flirt and you never realized that he was flirting, so you think this is a normal thing to do, but actually it's a flirtatious thing to do. Or you may have seen many women do this and you think this is normal to flirt like this, and you want to do it because every woman does it, so that's why you want to flirt. But maybe you shouldn't be flirting, because you don't, the women who had to flirt and fight their way through some past situations of life were existing on a different earth. At that time point, women's value was not understood if they didn't flirt. I have, in all my existence in US, never flirted with any of my male co-workers. I am nice and sweet to them, but I have never flirted with them, especially the ones who are my bosses. Definitely a no-no. Why? Because that is a boundary I want to keep, and I do not completely agree with ever flirting with mentors. And I'm also a high boundary setting person. So because of possibly some past life experiences I might have had, some other experiences I have also had in my life, personal life, all of which has led me to be very distant from not giving anyone a wrong energy or wrong insight about whether a flirting is happening in a relationship with them, which is something everyone should be doing. And now, if because we also have bisexual people in the world now, gay people in the world now, you have to also be even more mindful about everyone and every interaction you have on earth, because you're not meant to be a Krishna like person or a Draupadi like person married to multiple people. You are only, most of us are meant to only be married to one person, and it adds to more evolutionary problems or maturity related problems if you simply just keep flitting from one partner to the other. So if you are on a journey to awakening, ascension, twin flame journey, all of these are meant to take you towards seeking a better partnership, seeking a partnership that is more balanced for you, seeking a partnership that will take you towards ascension in life, because none of us are also meant to live alone lives. Very few people have been created on earth who are meant to be loners. Most people are meant to exist in as a family, as a group. So when you are meant to exist as a family or a group, you have to also understand that as a family, and most are meant to exist as a family first. So when you are meant to exist as a family first, you build your family. Like in the twin flame, there's something called a concept of monad groups. And the monad group concept is basically a twin flame. There will be a twin flame couple who will be the head of that group, and then they will have 12 other couples underneath them whom they are meant to mentor or shape up or be friends with or guide them. So this kind of structure has been formed. Why? Because when people have nuclear families, you will not have a lot of resonance with your own families, or when you have to do a high level ascension work, again you will not have a lot of resonance with many people. And this monad group was present in Jesus's time as well, where Jesus was a twin flame. People didn't know that Jesus was a twin flame. I have found enough evidence to know who is his twin flame. I don't want to talk about it here, but he was a twin flame where he wasn't a couple with his twin flame, because at that point of time that may not have been acceptable for the patriarchal society he was existing in. But there was a monad group of Jesus. His 12 disciples were part of his monad group. And then after Judas Iscariot, I think, betrayed him, when Judas went away, there was someone else who replaced him, and that became his actual monad group after ascension. And that monad group, actually speaking, those men and their wives, if they had wives, were also part of Jesus's monad group, because that is how a monad group of a twin flame couple works. The man and woman and 12 other people who will be connected to them, their spouses. That is how their monad group will be, so that you will work together conjointly towards a particular purpose that needs to unfold right now on earth. At that time, Jesus's purpose and his monad group's purpose was what? To spread the messages related to Christianity's teachings that had to spread in the world. That was what his monad group's purpose was, and his monad group's purpose was a grand scale purpose. So many of us know some of the details about what happened with Christianity. Even if you're not Christian, you still have some historical understanding, or you can just have an informational understanding of what Jesus did at that point of time. And like that, which is also a twin flame monad group that is going to exist now 2000 years later as well, and for centuries and decades such monad groups have existed. It's just that you do not know, maybe consciously, when you are part of a monad group. And maybe even if you know or don't know you're part of a monad group, if organically a monad group has been formed in your family life or in your social life with your work friends, or with your, like, most of the time husband's group of friends join together to form a monad group. These kind of things happen. Sometimes even women can join together to form their own monad social groups, when women are in countries like India, when women are living in the same society or are following the same religion and are gathering for religious functions in their and celebrations. At that time also monad groups can be formed. So these kind of monad groups, when you're forming, or essentially for twin flames it's called a monad group, but if you're not a twin flame also, you can form these groups, which is your social group you're forming. A social group you need to form and build and support and create together, so that you can do the high level ascension work that is needed right now on earth. And everyone is part of the ascension journey. It's just some of us are awakened to it, some of us are not awakened. Those who are awakened first have to teach something, have to learn and understand something at a deeper level. They may have, some of them have to work with multiple monad groups, some of them might have to work with multiple groups of people and entities, some of them might have to work with just one particular area of expertise. Like if someone is a like I said, if someone is a politician, the politician has to work in the political field possibly, if that is the only thing he did. But if there is a politician who also has interest in art, that politician who has also interest in art may have to do political work as well as art related development. If there's a businessman where in a business family one person is doing art related work, the other spouse is doing business related work, again there is some business and art related merging work maybe that they might have to do. Or there is someone who has a family where in the family life one person is interested in sports, the husband is let's say the son is interested in sports, the daughter is interested in music, the husband is interested in just normal government work they are doing, and the wife is a teacher. Again, these four people have been brought together as a family with four different diverse interests, but they will also have some simultaneously merging interests as well, because that simultaneous merging of interests means that is the overlapping area and field where they might need to collaborate with each other as a family to do something in the family life, or sometimes as a professional life you might have to do something where, like, if the mother is a teacher and a daughter is a dancer, a teacher and a dancer together might be in the future of their, after the daughter's children have grown up, the grandmother is like in her 60s, the daughter is in the 40s, the daughter and the grandmother, while the child is now busy pursuing their career, the daughter and the grandmother, like the daughter's mother, they both might need now to form something related to, like, the mother is retired, the daughter might be thinking, if you are also in the ascension journey, you might get burnt out from your work, you might want to feel like quitting your work. At that time you might quit your work and then decide to do something with your mother. And I have seen a lady like that who was an engineer on one of the YouTube pages that I have seen, where she, despite doing engineering from a very high class university and thinking of doing some other government jobs, she eventually decided not to do that. She was not married, she was a daughter in her 20s and 30s. At that time in her 20s and 30s, where she didn't want to continue pursuing engineering related work, she ended up using her mother's hobby and her own hobby together with some social related work they need to do, that now they are doing. And many people are like, you wasted your education, but she hasn't wasted her education, because via her education she has found social contacts, she has even now some social contacts who could be beneficial for her for future work. Secondly, her engineering related knowledge only gives her the knowledge that makes she's making purses and decorative items. So for decorative items and purses also you do need engineering knowledge. It's just that she's using engineering plus art knowledge to do her work. And in future, if her only purpose was to establish her mom into a hobby, or her mom, and she's doing it with other lower income ladies, so she's given work to many women. If in the future she does want to get pursued again into pursuing something related to engineering, it is very much possible that all she was meant to do was to give a leg up to these people. She could do this as a part-time thing and join an engineering firm as a part-time worker as well if she wants to. If some companies create these avenues for women who are educated, who are pursuing other things, to again get back into the field at which they want to work. Because this is also the next part of ascension, that part-time work needs to become acceptable, because it's time for global economy to slow down. And now the economy can slow down and fail, like how it happened in the Great Depression or during the wars that happened in the last century. Or there is an alternative choice. These are the two paths which will unfold if humanity continues pursuing just a gain related human endeavors, or praise and build and continuous money related thing if people are pursuing and they're forgetting everything else in life. That is when a depression like era or a war like era will unfold. If that doesn't get or other disasters like epidemics already have started, pandemics already have started, but epidemics can unfold. These are the three very disastrous paths which can unfold on earth's history in the next few decades or next few years. But if you want to avoid that, if we do not want that, if we do not want to completely break down and shatter what has already been built by us, then there is a better way as well. You can shift and change the tide, you can move away from bad. And why are these three going to unfold? Because there are many health related. When you are in a busy world, when you are continuously in a active phase and not in a passive or resting phase, not understanding how to change and destroy or shift and pull back or stop from pursuing what is considered valuable to pursue, all of those time periods when you are not shifting and resting and pursuing also not just the masculine related work but the feminine energy related work also needs to be pursued. That time, if too much of masculine energy is present and that masculine energy that doesn't know how to stop itself, universe only has to put a checking mechanism, and the only way to check those masculine energy who are now at a unstoppable unbalanced level is via wars, is via death, is via destruction of a whole masculine pursuit of life as well, which leads to the business things crashing, right? So and that's why only I have some degrees related to these fields and insights related to this based on past understanding. And I had the time in recent years when I was not working to understand these concepts. I took the time to I was deliberately first put at such a level where I had to quit certain things. When I quit certain things, and most people will think, why are you quitting, you must be a quitter. But I was in a very bad challenge where if I didn't quit, my health would fail or I would die. So I quit only when it was something risky was going on, something risky beyond my way to control or manage or do shift the tide in a way that could be shifted in a balanced manner. So the most balancing thing that I could do was to quit at that time my life in US, which most people seeing the prosperity of US life would think, why are you quitting such a prosperous life? But that is the whole part of my life purpose that I didn't I had to also learn the lesson of after quitting prosperous life what happens. Because if the global economy starts failing, there has to be some teachers or guides who have to understand it at a conceptual level to explain it then to the next person who is failing and why they are failing, the different reasons why you are failing, because multiple reasons will be there for different people to fail related to their higher purpose, their individual specific purpose, as well as the collective purpose. So the collective purpose, if like let's say pharmaceutical industry is going to fail, I know it is going to fail in many ways because they're doing a lot of different things that are wrong. So, but which industries will fail? The ones who are doing the maximum wrong are going to fail first. The ones who are hiding and living in denial about what they are doing wrong will fail next. Ones who are deliberately sabotaging certain things will also fail. Those people are going to fail. Those who will still continue will continue if there is a higher purpose to them continuing, or if they have done ethical practices, have done practices which keeps the functionality of the industry in balance. Like that, any other industry that is going to fail next in this century, there's a reason, and there's a reason why pharmaceutical industry, not just pharmaceutical industry, couple of other businesses have to fail slowly. If not fail, you can fail completely like a Great Depression like failure. But if you do not want the Great Depression like failure, you have to steadily allow a decline in your industry. This is where most people do not understand how to allow steady declines. I have allowed steady declines in my life. I didn't know at that time when steady declines were happening in my life that there were decline and rising, decline and rising, decline and rising. Many people in the ascension journey, in the twin flame journey, are also going to experience this ebbs and flows or peaks and valleys of life. Why? Because you are meant to be the guide and teacher to understand how to navigate both the peak and understand the value of also the valleys and downturns. So whenever you are in a successful phase, you have to understand and appreciate what is good about the successful phase. Whenever you are in the downturn phase or sickness phase, I had different issues at different points of time related to which I have talked about in my other page, and I may discuss again in a next video. But different life challenges came to me at different points of time to understand the value of that life challenge, to learn from that life challenge, to learn how to navigate that life challenge, and to also learn, this is where feminine energies balance comes into picture, when to say no. You have to say no to a challenge as well, a challenge that is beyond your capacity to work through, a challenge that you do not have the power to work at, a challenge that needs maybe a collective change for that challenge to first get navigated, or a mass scale change is needed, or a group effort is needed. Those challenges where group efforts are needed, and again, if you are supposed to be part of a group, that group has to work actively to bring change related to that challenge. Only one person can only be the guide and teacher about what needs to change, but everyone else together collectively has to initiate that change and bring about that change. Then only that change will happen if it is a collective level change that needs to happen. So if collectively all of us, because I mentioned the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want the pharmaceutical industry to fail, what change do we need to bring? A downturn is coming for sure and guaranteed. No one can stop that, because it has reached a peak and now it has to reach a valley as well. Now that valley, the company that is doing really bad practices will immediately drop in and go into the valley range, right? And it will completely fail. But the company which is doing something in a really good way, like let's say they have 100 drugs that they sell to the population in the world, and all out of 100 drugs, let's say 80 of their drugs are really still drugs that are needed on earth, because there are many useless drugs also that are not needed on earth. There are also many harmful drugs on earth that should be not sold at all, and they were reintroduced after ban for a few decades. They were reintroduced. All of these are happening, and I will make a video on that in my another page, possibly. Yeah, so there are drugs that shouldn't be there in the market. There are drugs that are having some manufacturing failures. There are manufacturing facilities that are failing because of earth pollution. There are facilities that need to fail simply because they are now going to be placed in such zones where natural disasters might unfold, because that is the only way to make that company fail by the universe. So all of these things are going to manifest in the next few years for the industry that needs to change and shift. And the places where changes and shifts are easily manageable, workable, people are ready to work on it, that company will slowly decline in a healthy manner, where you will not whatever losses you will endure will be bearable losses, will be losses where even if on paper it is a loss, it will still continue your company in a healthy manner. Because like in a human's life, philosophically, spiritually, every philosopher or spiritualist or people who pursue philosophies related to living, all of them know this principle that highs and lows are part of life. And this is also actually true in highs and lows related to your personal life, highs and lows related to your friendships, highs and lows related to your professional life. Everywhere highs and lows are actually part and parcel of living. It's just that in our blindness or ignorance or unconsciousness or unwillingness to accept the lows, or feel that a low and a failure means that we are at a unhealthy phase of life, is the reason why we do not value the lows of life, value the negativities of life, value the feminine energies, purpose in our life. Which is where now people have to awaken that feminine energy has a purpose. When feminine energy is completely ignored, you will get Great Depression like economies in the world. When feminine energy is valued but not completely valued, you might get diseases in the world as well. And when feminine energies is completely destroyed and only the masculine is present, or 90% masculine is there, very few percentage of feminine is there, that's when war ensures. So all of these are all different associated feminine energy related problems that create these structures. You will see in Taliban where all this warlike area emerged there. Why? Because feminine was completely getting subdued and strangled and not being allowed to speak, not being allowed to manifest. But that is why only that whole area is so war ridden. There are other geopolitical reasons for the wars to have started there, but the geopolitical reasons apart from that, the fact that the feminine energy was completely subdued there and not allowed to balance the masculine energy there is the reason why, the circumstances arose that has led to Taliban like existence. It's true of any terrorism groups where feminine energy is completely denied, not acknowledged, not valued, not understood why no's are necessary, why dark phases are necessary, why challenges are necessary, why women are necessary to say no sometimes to certain things that don't lead to real progress, why families are necessary to understand how to take a collective measure that will benefit everyone and not just one segment of society. All of this was missing there. That's why it exists anywhere where Taliban like things exist in the world. It could be at a grand country level like Afghanistan, but it could also be at a microscopic religious level, it could be at a microscopic family level, it could be also other countries where are very similar to Afghanistan, which are next going to become like Afghanistan if again in those countries the feminine energy is not valued in the right ways. I hope this made sense. Anyone has questions, comments, wants more discussion on any of these topics, I would love to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time to watching this video. Have a great day.